This is Sean O'Neill's CA2 screencast. I'm going to start off with a demo of my game. It's quite similar to CA1. I didn't upgrade it as much as I would have liked, unfortunately. The new functionality really exists in the grab room, which showcases the inventory, the player inventory. So if I go to grab, then I get my list of items that's in the grab room, and I can choose any one of those to add to my inventory. I'll add the priceless main vase now. And then I can go to the grab room again, and option 2 is to check my inventory, which displays my inventory. Currently I only have a priceless main vase. If I go back in, I can take something else, such as sword, and then go back into the grab room, check my inventory. I have a priceless main vase and a sword. Apart from that, my game is fairly similar. There's a few minor changes to the code, but nothing too important from a programming perspective. The aspects of my code that I added in are the inventory. I added in inventory.cpp, item.cpp, added a few things into character, moved some code around, put some more pieces in function, and just separated code out from the main app. So it's not one massive switch statement anymore. It has some functionality that you call in from out of file. I have enums, such as this enum here, for the main switch statement, and I have other enums throughout the rest of my code. And I use iterators in one or two places, such as here in my inventory, in the remove from and print inventory functions. Remove from inventory just returns void, because it just prints out. Sorry, it just removes the item from the inventory. It passes in an object argument. Then for a for loop, where the iterator points to the beginning of the vector of inventory, of the inventory, and then loops through until the end. And it checks if the reference, its current reference, the name of the current reference, is the same as the object you pass in's name, and if it is, then it erases it from the vector. And for the print inventory, it prints just a nice little inventory header, and then it's the same, it's pretty much the exact same for loop. It's inventory iterator, starts at the beginning and loops through to the end, incrementing the iterator once along the way, so once per pass through the loop, and then the differences in the loop. This outputs the name of the iterator, the name of the reference point of the iterator. I added a few bits of functionality I didn't get to include in my main game. I added a save and load function to the character. The save function returns void because it just saves to an out of project and out of program file. So that's the file you pass in there. And then you pass out of the file name equals, so that's just to make it look nice, so you don't just get bombarded with a wall of code. It'll say name equals the name of the class, above the name of your character, then just say the class and the name of your class, health, strength, dexterity, etc. And then load is fairly similar to the other way around. You take in an input stream from out of file. You set up a string garbage, which just collects garbage code such as the name equals, gold equals, level equals that you pass in when you were saving. It just gets rid of that and then actually passes the code that you need, the code that you want, into the files, into the variables that you need. And then I have the pickup function for the character, which just goes with the inventory really. It just allows you to pick up objects that you see in the world, and that would have been used in the grab room. Levelup.cpp is one instance where I removed some code from the main app switch to try and make it a bit smaller. It's a pretty simple file here. I just have my includes, my usings, and then I have my one function, which is the level up function, passing a reference to a hero, which would be your character, and it just says if his XP is greater than or equal to 100 and you're not already level 2, go to level 2, and when you level up, the hero.addLevel function just gives you 25 health, 1 strength, 1 dexterity, and then it's the same for every level, except it just increments. So if your experience is greater than or equal to 200 and you're not level 3, go to level 3, etc. Another instance of separating things out was with my goblin, dragon, and minotaur classes. I just have these in their own unique file now, and they all have both the default and the advanced constructor. So the default generally just sets it as the class name and gives them basic stats. And with the advanced constructor, I only allowed you to pass in the name because really I wasn't planning on having any bosses or anything. So it's just so you can have a named enemy to fight. So you don't always have to fight something called Goblin or Minotaur or Dragon, you can actually give them names. I thought that might add to the game. And then they just have their basic functions, such as your getters and setters. And Dragon and Minotaur follow the exact same path. I didn't include save or load functions in my enemy classes because really they only exist within that one area of the arena behind each door, and you go in and you defeat them in the fight, and when you defeat them, that's it, there's no real need for them anymore. So I didn't see a need for an ability to save enemies, seeing as enemies only exist in a very limited scope. I've actually just spotted the fact that I did include code constructors in my code. So for Dragon, Minotaur, and Goblin, they have full constructors. So you can have a completely custom Dragon if you'd like, or a completely custom Minotaur, or a completely custom Goblin. And then there's the slightly more advanced constructors, which are the default constructor, but you can just change the name. I thought it would be nice just to give variety. This is the item class. It's rather simplistic really. It just has a default constructor, then its advanced constructor, pick up or do what you want with. It's got its regular getters and setters as well. And then it has examine at the bottom, which would just return its description, which does just return its description. The inventory class is similar enough, but it's different in the fact that you have to make vectors of items. And the default constructor just creates an inventory. The advanced constructor creates an inventory and allows you to pass in the vector of items that you've already specified. It then has an add function which just adds an item to that vector, and a remove function which I've already gone over, but that just removes the item from the inventory or from the vector that you call it on, and then the print inventory just prints it out. This is the room class, and I did ask Lucas Tonic for some help on this, and he was happy enough to help me out. He just helped me with understanding how to read in from file. But the room follows a similar structure to every other class. And you have your default constructors, you have your advanced constructors, you have your getters and setters, and then you have examine, which just returns the description of the room again. You have print room, which is going to be used in the world. So it would print out the number of the room, the name and the description, and then how many the exits it has. Then you have get exits, which prints out the exits, a vector of exits, and then the get items, which just returns a vector of the item in the room, and then void go to, which was supposed to be how the command you use to get from room to room, but I didn't have time to implement it. I included a parser file, but I didn't get around to implementing it really. So at the moment it's pretty much an exact copy of the one we did in class, and that's it really. It doesn't do much else because I didn't get around to implementing it. I simply ran out of time. The world file is used as kind of a backbone or a skeleton for the room, and the rooms will be loaded by this file, and that's how the world will be structured. It takes, well, we start off by making a vector of rooms, and that's where they're going to be stored. It has its default constructor and its advanced constructor, and then the build world function actually constructs the world. So it takes it in, it reads it in from file, and then it loops around for the amount of rooms that I've specified up here, which was 5. That was the maximum amount of rooms I was going to have in the game. And then it follows the same as the load file in character really. From the in file it takes in the garbage and then the useful data, and then it will say it'll set the number for the name or the description to be what you just read in. And then for the roots at the end, which is the names of the exits really, you loop around for the amount of exits that you found out just before, and then it's the same in file into garbage, read in the exit name, and then you push back the exit name into the vector of roots. And then at the bottom you add that room with all of its variables defined into the vector of the room that's involved. I then have an add items function, which is very similar to the add rooms, except for add rooms adds a room to the room vector